Christmas has come early. Nah, really not. It's just the Hot 10 Comics of the Week breakdown. What is going on, everyone? I'm your host, Lawrence, over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and like always, welcome back to the show. Today, of course, is the Hot 10 Comics of the Week breakdown, where I go over the 10 hottest comics according to the Key Collector app, and I break them down for you guys, letting you know which books I'm buying at which prices, and which I'm staying away for. Before we get started in the video, like always, I remind you guys, if you're not a current sub of the channel, do yourself a favor, hit that sub button, smash the like button for yours truly, and without further ado, let's get into this week's breakdown. Starting it off as a brand new book to this list, at number 10 is a copy of Weird War Tales number 93 and the first appearance of the Creature Commandos. And last week we had a CGC 9.6 selling for an insane $675, but up a crazy 41% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.6 newsstand copy selling for, get this, a crazy $1,700, up 13% over the average, all because Creature Commandos is now out from DC. With that said, guys, I don't ever want to buy a book really that's up 40% over the average. You can find this book for a steal. I'd be all over it. If not, I'm staying away from these crazy prices. Back on the list this week at number 9 is a copy of Silver Surfer number 3 and the first appearance of Mephisto. And last week we had a CGC 8.0 selling for $750, but only up 6% over the average. Then we had a mid-grade CGC 6.0 sale of only $420, up 15% over the average. Now I'm going to tell you guys this, I love this book and I definitely want to own it. For me, I'd rather own a mid-grade copy than a super high-grade copy. To me, I don't want to spend high dollar amounts on this book, but if you can get it for a deal, then it's a must-own for me. Here's a book we haven't seen in a while on the list. At the 8th spot is a copy of Incredible Hulk number 180 and the first cameo appearance of Wolverine. This is also the second appearance of Wendigo. And last week we had a CGC 8.0 selling for $950, up 3% over the average. Then we had a CGC 5.5 sale for $615. Get this, up 20% over the average. For me, I'd rather own an Incredible Hulk number 181. That is the money book, the better cover. So if you own that book, I'm going to say if you want to own the 180, go ahead, get it. But try to get it in mid to fine range, only because I don't want to spend a lot of money on this book if I already own the money book 181. Hell, but if you can't get a 181 and you want to own this book, just try to get the best grade possible for your collection. Coming in at number 7 this week is some more Bronze Age goodness. It is a copy of Uncanny X-Men number 94 and the second team appearance of the new X-Men team. This is also the first appearance of these characters in the main title. And last week we had a CGC 9.2 selling for a whopping $3,050, but get this, up a crazy 69% over the average. Then we had a CGC 6.0 sale for only $475, up 7% over the average. So for me, the money book is Giant Size X-Men number 1. We're talking about the new X-Men team. Of course, the original X-Men team was totally different. So for me, I'd rather own Giant Size X-Men 1. But again, if you can't go ahead and get that book and you want to own this one, just get the best grade possible for your collection. But if you own Giant Size X-Men 1, I'd probably want to spend around $500 just to get this one. But either way, it's definitely a buy. Heading over to the Copper Age at number 6 is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 316 and the third appearance of Venom. This is also the first full cover appearance of Venom and an iconic cover by Todd McFarlane. And last week we had a CGC 9.6 selling for only $255, but up 21% over the average. So to me, you guys know I want to own this book. I'm a big Spidey fan, and for a while this book was pretty expensive in a 9.8, but I've been consistently seeing this book for under $500 in a 9.8, which makes it for me an automatic buy. I'd rather spend $500 or less. Honestly, I think it's $400 and change for a 9.8 on a 9.8 copy than rather buying a 9.6. That's just the way I collect. Coming in at the 5 spot this week is a copy of Captain America number 100 and the first solo titled Captain America series in the Silver Age, beginning with issue 100. And last week we had a CGC 7.5 selling for $500, up 3% over the average. Then we had a CGC 6.0 sale for only $300, but only up 1% over the average. I've said it before about this book. If I could find it for a steal, I'm all over it. I want to own this book, but I don't want to spend $300 to $500 just to own it. To me, there are better books than you could buy for that price range, but it's to each his own. I know I'm going to kill down the comments for this one, like I always do. Coming in at number 4 this week is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 129 and the first appearance of Frank Castle and the Punisher. This is also the first appearance of the Jackal and an iconic cover by Gil Kane and John Romita Sr. Last week we had a CGC 9.2 selling for a crazy $3,360, up 14% over the average. Then we had a CGC 7.0 sale for $1,700, up 14% over the average. You guys know I love this book. I love this cover. At one point in my collection, I think I had 5 or 6 copies at once. I am now down to 1 copy. I'm going to say this. If you're a Spidey fan, you want to own this book. If you're a Punisher fan, you want to own this book. If you like classic covers, you want to own this book. Other than that, I'm not sure I'd be buying this book right here with all the Bronze Age keys continuing to drop in price. With that said, it's a must own. I want to own it. I'm always going to give this book a thumbs up if it sells right around market value. How about some more Todd Father goodness? At number 3, it is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 300 and the first full appearance of Venom. This is also a classic cover by the great Todd McFarlane. And last week we had a CGC 9.4 only this week. That's the high sale for $663, up 9% over the average. I tell you guys this all the time. Yes, it's a must-own book, but there are a million copies out there, not literally. I want to own the copy that I want to keep in my collection for the long term. I have a 9.2 side by Tom McFarlane. If you like signed books, I suggest going that route. With that said, I don't think you need to spend $3,000 or $2,500 on a 9.8. Just get the grade that you want and be happy. Other than that, if you're not a big Spidey or Venom fan, I'd be staying away from this one. Back at the 2 spot this week is a copy of Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 8 and the origin of the black symbiote costume. And last week we had a CGC 9.8 selling for $560, up 14% over the average. I tell you guys this all the time when we're talking about this book, and it seems like this book has been on the list for the latter part of 3 months. At a 9.8, $500 or less for a nice pink and orange cover. Other than that, I'd rather own a raw copy, pay around $150 or less. That's what I'm spending on this book, and I'm sticking to it. And finally, at the top spot and back at number 1 for the second week in a row, we can't get rid of this book. It is a copy of Incredible Hulk number 340 and this classic cover, again, by Todd McFarlane. And last week, we had a CGC 9.6 selling for $410, up 14% over the average. So I say you guys this every week. I'd rather own this book raw than spend $400 or possibly even higher to get a high-grade copy of this one. To me, I don't want to spend the money when there are a lot of copies out there. And I'm not a newsstand collector either. That's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed the list. What you can tell is right now, Todd McFarlane is super hot with 3 keys, 3 classic covers on the list. Everything seems to be copper and bronze. 2 Silver Age books only this week. Regardless, it is now time for my best buy of the week. And to me, this is a really tough choice. I usually go silver over bronze, but I'm going with the biggest key on this book. And to me, that's Amazing Spider-Man number 129 and the first appearance of the Punisher, Frank Castle. It's a must-own book for me and a lot of collectors out there. But to each his own, this is a tough week, so just buy the book that you want in your collection for the long term. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.